welcome to our YouTube channel, Candid Conversations with Coach K and Kim. We're just gonna walk you through a bit of a journey. This is our first time doing a podcast. Well, it's my first time.
First time as well.
Okay, so we're just going to introduce you to ourselves so you get to know a little bit more about us, what we do, and then we'll jump into the type of content that we'll be sharing with you on this channel. All right, so Coach, you want to go first?
My name is Kieran Kelsha Charles, better known as Coach K. I coach the Harlem Sports Club presently, working with the senior players as well as the youth players. Presently working as well with Organize Me and the Learning Lab. That's the youth of the organization in mentorship program.
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about the foundation, give us the name of the foundation, and tell the viewers about your journey, how you got there.
Well, yeah, we recently started our foundation, Be More Mentorship Foundation, which came through the inspiration of being more, where I started that brand. I came up with More Than a Coach. It's something that's dear to me, that have been haunting me. We are coaches. We work with a lot of youth, adults as well, and being a coach is not just about the game. It's not just about the X and O's. It's about the well-being of the players, the holistic vibes of the players. So in everything, I had to be more in what I was doing for them, like a father, a brother, a mother, just a listening ear, a guide. So it's a everyday job. So that's where More Than a Coach came out from. And then having the More Than a Coach, I wanted it to relate to everybody, youth, adults, and so on and so on. So with the foundation, we came up with something for the youth where they could actually be more. And that was the hashtag for it, to be more in whatever you choose to do, whatever you can do, just be more.
Okay, nice, thanks. So we'll share a bit more with you about that at the end of the episode. As I said, I'm Kimberly Allen, and I am the business owner of Organized Me and the Learning Lab. I grew up in Dominica, but I studied and worked a lot overseas in Toronto. I'm a project manager by profession, so I love organizing things. I thrive on structure. I love putting all the pieces together. And the types of projects that I particularly love to work on are related to young people, because I have a passion for youth, just like Coach. So I'm really passionate about projects or anything really that deals with developing our young people. So it was always a passion of mine, though I could have really continued my career in Toronto. It was important for me to make that type of impact in my home country, in Dominica. So I wanted to come back and to really use my skills in order to help our young people here, and in order to just do things locally here in Dominica. So I came back and started the business, Organized Me, which is really focused on, as the name says, getting businesses organized, so small and micro businesses. And as I said, I have a passion for young people and education. So, we also do the Learning Lab, where we focus on programming for young people. Okay, so that's a little bit about me, and you'll find out later on how you can find out more about the business, just like how you can find out more about the foundation. So context is everything. We want you to understand how we even came to this point where we're sitting down here talking together, doing this podcast, something that we've never done before. So now that you know a little bit more about us, and you'll get to know more about us as we take this journey together, we're gonna tell you how we met. Okay, so I don't know, you want me to do that?
Well, yeah, we can. It's the idea that was haunting me down in my mind that I needed to put things together. How can I have this brand going out? How can I put it together? How can I sell it? How can I put the whole foundation? How I going to reach the kids? And I could hardly sleep every day, every night in my mind how I going to put it together. And I came across Philip Allen, telling him about the idea. We had a short meeting. Well, not, I won't say a short meeting, but a meeting in his vehicle. And lo and behold, he's telling me about his sister that work in that field that can get things organized for me. And after saying that, in about 10 minutes, you appeared.
Here I come. Right.
And it's like from that, bam, we just kicked it off and start getting things organized.
Right. So actually, this is quite an interesting story, but God works in wonderful ways. So from my end, like, okay, so Kay couldn't sleep at night, which really shows that obviously you're passionate about something, there's purpose, you know, there's something that you need to give birth to. For me, it's been, as I said, passionate about young people, and in anything that I do, you know, it must make an impact. So shout out, by the way, to our team at Organize Me and the Learning Lab. We started an after school program, an after and before school program with young people. So we had about 60 of them, okay, who would come through our doors every day, either before they went to school or after they came from school, okay? And it was not enough to just give them homework help, where they came, you know, we knew that that's what the parents wanted. In order that they came, they were supervised, their homework got done. But for me, that was just not enough, because there's so much more than just academics, right?
Holistic.
Right, holistic to building a young person. So we really wanted to be more. Like, that's what we were striving to do as an organization and with the program. And I was really struggling with that. And then about January of this year, you know, God really started pushing on me in terms of getting someone to do some mentorship, particularly at that point in time, with the young men in the program. So I asked two people, you know, the first one rejected me, so said no, right? Because I wanted a man, you know, an adult who had, you know, experience and so forth and was good in relating with young people, that could have some conversations with them, do some mentorship, you know, to really assist the young men, to assist the young boys, you know, through life, through just navigating simple things. Right, so I got turned down from the first person that I asked, and then the second person that I asked basically told me like they'd get back to me, and then they never did. So this was January, February. And then, lo and behold, I was coming from the bank, and I made like, you know, I was supposed to go in one direction, but I turned a completely opposite direction. Now I know why, but at the point in time, it really didn't make any sense why I was going in that direction. So I started walking in that direction, and then I hear like a toot toot, a honk. So that was my brother in his van, and he put down his window and he said, "Oh my God, we were like literally just talking about you," right? And so this gentleman, coach, was sitting down in the passenger side. And I knew that I knew his face, but I didn't know from where. Like, I just couldn't remember from where. But then my brother reminded me that that it was through football, because my daughter used to do football, right? Harlem Juvenile?
Juvenile Academy, yes.
Academy, right. So my daughter started in football about 3 years ago. And then I immediately remembered him because what I remembered about him actually was the fact that he pulled my daughter aside. Like I'd never seen him before. I never spoke to him before that, neither after that. But I remember him pulling my daughter aside and speaking to her. And I remember the conversation. Like I don't remember what it was exactly, but I remember loving the way that he spoke to her. Like it actually like took me aback to the point that I remembered it, right? Because it was a really great interaction, however it was that he had interacted with her. But my daughter left, football not too long after. So then I never saw him after that until that day. Right. So fast forward, we're like, yeah, we'll talk and whatever. So we come to my office and we speak. And he was just so passionate about what it was that he was sharing. It was extremely refreshing for me because I had not witnessed that, in a while. And being someone who loves youth and wants to see them progress, it was really refreshing to have someone mirror that and speak in the way that he did. So much so that I actually called my brother, shout out to Philip again, and I told him, like, as soon as he left, I was like, is this guy for real? Because I don't want to work with anybody who's not really interested, but is like sort of saying that they are, because I know obviously that I'm genuine about this stuff. So I wanted to know that whoever I was working with was genuine about it too. And he told me, yeah, Kim, like he's the real deal. So I was like, okay. And through our conversation, it was just perfect because he was looking to start off the Be More Empowerment Foundation and needed young people for that, obviously. And here I was with the Learning Lab, needing someone to mentor them. And boom, here he comes. So it was really like answered prayer.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't want to forget Dwayne Bellett as well.
Yes.
He's one of the founding members of the foundation as well. And John Williams. These are people that work with me, will listen to all the things that I have to say and split out my ideas and so on. And they work with me, and that is why we sit in here today, actually
talking to you
and living the dream of what we had in our minds. So we give thanks.
So shout out to Dwayne and shout out to John, right? And everybody else.
Took a part. Yep.
Yes. Okay, so this is the context, that's the background, right, of who we are, how we met. Now, how is it that we've come to do this podcast? So let's speak a little bit about that. So what happened is that Coach and I started working together. Well, he started working, so he partnered with Organized Me and the Learning Lab, and himself and Dwayne would come. So they actually we started with a group about 10 or 12?
12 kids.
About 12 boys. Right? Specifically, we started with last term. And so they would come, after work, and we would bring the students from the Learning Lab across to head office, where we are now, and they would meet here and mentor them once a week. And I remember the first time that we did it, like I stood up in the corner of the room, and I'll never forget it. Just witnessing what was going on. And for me, it was like I could not have, chosen someone off of the street or just randomly paid them and trained them to do what was being done. Like, it was just a better job could not have been done. It was fantastic, it was phenomenal, and I knew that that was exactly what it was that we were looking for. So we had a really good time last term.
With the 12 boys we had. We had a few mentorship classes, where we enjoyed. Actually did the technical part of things, created learning games for them and so on. We did sports as well. Did youth savannah with me. We also get a little bit personal with them, in some questions on asking on how they feel and attitude and emotions and those kind of things, how they react to being disappointed, how they get when they get angry, what caused that and certain things, and it's interesting to know, they really feel and understand. So you some parents may think that the son or daughter is really misbehaving, but it's just because of cause of something and nobody not really listening to them. So it was great getting to know them and to understand and a lot of brilliant young minds. We're looking forward to starting it over again, but
Yes.
That whole COVID thing keep pushing back and so on, but I believe everything will get going again. So this time we're hoping to have more. Hoping that we can manage as well. We don't want to stretch our wings too far, but we do have some people who have promised to come in and do some mentorship with us. Giving big up to Miss Kimon at the University of the West Indies, Miss Frederica, and Dr. Deshose. So we do have a few people that are willing to come and work and give their time to the youth to help them.
All right. So, they had a lot of fun last term, and it was really amazing to see the young boys, look up to, an older male role model, and to do the activities that they did, and just to be able to have certain conversations that they could relate to. Yeah, so what we wanted to do, so we had fantastic plans, and we still have the plans, so they are going to come through. But again, just to tell you how we got to the podcasting, was that from this September, we were really going to be launching this big time. So we were going to take all the youth from the Learning Lab, both the boys and the girls, because of course the girls are getting jelly, right? They're getting jealous, and they deserve the same, to have the same type of mentorship, to have the same type of conversations. It's just that we found, a lot of the time our boys get left out, so we started with the boys. But the girls are important too. So we were gonna take, Coach was gonna take on, Coach and Dwayne, we're gonna take on the young men and meet with them twice a week. We're gonna do 2 groups, and I was gonna take on the young girls and meet with them twice a week, right? And then once a month, we sort of do like a plenary session or a joint session with all of them, and really speak to some, specific topics that we think are important for our young people, and to just get them outside of, keep them learning in ways that are not necessarily like academic based.
The holistic thing.
Yes, right? Because again, there's just like so much more to life. There's so much more to learn, and this is this type of stuff that we're passionate about. But COVID hit, so we had to obviously change plans or push back those plans a bit. So they are still going to manifest once we can meet face to face. Yeah, so once we're back to being able to meet face to face, then we're going to jump back onto that. So, look out for that. Keep in touch with us so when everything is, back to schedule. But what we decided that we were going to do, and why we started this channel, was that we'd have some conversations, candid conversations, hence why it's called Candid, right? Being upfront, very transparent, sharing from, our own experiences and so forth, to address topics that we believe are really important. And for me, personally, Coach will speak to how he feels about it, but growing up, there were so many topics or things that I personally would have loved, like if there was someone, an older adult, you know, someone who had walked the road before, who I could have spoken to about some of these things. And it's no one's fault really, you know, like our generation, the generation before us, our parents' generation, was not so much into that type of thing, yeah? But our young people are facing lots of different things, and so it's important to have these types of conversations with them. So what we want to really come from this is that every time we have an episode, I'm not quite sure how often we're going to do this, I guess.
Every week, I
Every
guess.
week? Okay, so...
What's the time available?
Right, so we're looking at doing it weekly, right? We're going to bring a topic, a conversation to the front, and what we'd like is that you would speak to, you know, any young person you know about that topic. So it can be your child, like I'm a mother of 2. I have a baby, but my oldest is 8. So these sorts of things I already start speaking to her about. And so we're going to be journeying along this together. So I'm going to take this back, just like we're asking you to do. And I'm going to have this conversation with her on a level that, you know, obviously is relatable to her and that she can understand, right? Coach has a son as well, so we're both parents. Okay, so we're asking that you take your children, have these conversations with them. If you don't have children, there must be a young person, you know.
Niece, a nephew.
Right, a niece, a nephew, a friend, someone. Have these conversations. And then DM us, let us know how it's going. Let us know if there are any topics that you think are important that you might want us to speak a little bit on, right? But, you know, whether you think it's taboo or not, let's just get the conversations rolling. So this is how we're gonna do the mentorship right now. It's like for the camera and through you. Okay, so definitely subscribe, share, and follow what we're doing and what's going on. Okay, and so with that, we're going to jump into our first conversation. And by the way, let's just preface this by saying that we are not counselors, right? So we're not counselors. Neither of us went to school for counseling.
No,
did
but
we?
then the coaching job,
Yes.
as I told you, it comes with,
Exactly.
you have to have that level of
Right.
maybe being able to counsel
Exactly.
your players, you
Yes.
know. So
Yeah.
it comes with that. That's why I went to do the leadership
Training.
courses, training at UEI and so on, just to be able to understand, especially this generation, like the way you speak to them. Sometimes, as I was saying last evening, you can really be telling somebody something right, but the way you say it. So they are no longer hearing the message, you're only hearing your tone. So your tone causes them to not really take in the message, not really understand it, because you may be shouting at them. But we grew up in that time where your coach could shout at you and curse you and push you, and then you now take that and you fuel yourself and you get going. But no, we have players that you cannot really do that with. You have to put an arm around them and say, hey, let's go, you can do it, you can be better. But I had to kind of, and still doing, still trying, still learning. I'm not sitting down here saying I'm perfect, like I'm the perfect coach. You know, most of you all who know me, I do lose my temper when I'm coaching at times. You know, it's something I have to control even better. But then I try to break out the whole habits that I have or had, I should say, when I was coaching, or when I doing things with players, how I approach them, how I speak to them to get the best out of them. Because it's not always, you know, sometimes somebody just need a little caring, a little loving, a little understanding to
Push
get the
them
best
along.
out of them. And what you think, you have a player, you're shouting at him, you're pushing him to go, and he left home and he's hungry. You not knowing that he's hungry truly, and he didn't say anything, but you keep pushing him and he cannot go more because he's hungry, he's not fed. So these are the things we have to recognize as coaches. Like, you pull him on the side and say, yo, what's going on? Like, and then, you know, he feels that comfort where he can talk to you and tell you, well, coach, I maybe didn't eat, you know. So that is why I'm performing like this. So it's all those things, you know, you have to go and learn, and we're still learning. So
And
I
keep
still
in
try
mind.
to come for us to understand.
Right. Thank you. Well, yeah, that's a very important note, right? How we deliver the message, the tone that we deliver the message in. I think a lot of us as parents, again, this generation, we didn't grow up necessarily, a lot of us, I'm not saying all, with our parents sitting us down and having these particular types of conversations. Some of us, I'm sure, were fortunate enough to, but a lot of us didn't. But let's start now, why not, right? So we're just gonna jump right in. The first topic that we're gonna do is on identity. So this is what we've chosen to start with. And I think it's a superb topic to start with because for me personally, identity is the basis for everything. Like, to me, it just does not matter, it does not make sense, sorry, to speak about anything else without first addressing this piece. So that's why we've chosen to start off here. I'm sure we have very different perspectives, or, you know, varying perspectives anyways on identity, what it means to us. So what do you, when we say identity, what does it mean to you?
Well, for me, when you say identity, you know, it's basically who you are, you know, who you portray yourself to be. For me, you know, it's all about myself, my confidence, my discipline, my responsibility, accepting responsibility and so on for maybe what I've done or do. So it's about my character, really and truly, and then it will show. But then you have all different type of identity. You have the social fairy identity where people can identify with whatever is happening in the society, with their friends, you know, try to fit in,
Right.
because you know how their friends are, that's how they think they should be, and all those things. So some people are really struggling with who they are. It is something a lot of us go through, like, what you here for, what you supposed to do, who am I, where do I fit in, those kind of things there, because most of the times we tend to go with the crowd where we know we still don't belong, because what we really want to do, maybe the majority not following. So there is where you have to have that that faith, that strength, that mental strength to be able to know who you are, what's your purpose, and to follow it despite whatever. So in playing, when I was a player, I know about hard work and the dedication and so on, and wanting to win, and winning was everything to me. So I brought it to my players, and some of them may not have the same drive like I did towards winning, and there's where I had to learn again, and it's never too late or you're not too old to learn. Through the leadership courses, I had to learn to understand as well, through help of other coaches and talking to people, that to get those players to win, I really had to change my whole approach towards them, care for them more, their well-being, their holistic being outside of football, to get them to get that drive towards winning. But then I had to show and understand to myself that winning is not all.
Right.
The preparation towards the game, everything, getting your game plan out there, having it executed, and then the result is winning. But winning is not everything, you know, having the guys be a unit, perform well together, love each other, be brothers on and off the field. So these things I had to really understand, that is what that can bring you towards winning. So I had to change everything around. So we went through a little up and down. See, we're not going through an up and down season, be able to try to implement those things, because you know it's change, is everything. So you win a game, you lose a game, you win a game, you lose a game. But all that comes with, you know, consistency. So the more we can go at it and believe in what we want to do, believe in ourselves, you know, and then make it a part of us, a part of your identity. Have that discipline, have that hard work and dedication, have that strong character, take up and own up your responsibilities, and then you will see that winning just going to come because you're together and you work for it, you prepare yourself to win, because you cannot just get up today. In anything you're doing, you have to go to work, you have to go to school, do exams, or whatever you're doing. You cannot just get up and think you're going to win. You have to prepare yourself to win. So these are the things. You know, I know we have a lot of young men struggling their identity, maybe in gangs, maybe a lot of things going on, a lot of young ladies, you know, a lot of stuff, you know. So you just have to know who you are and who you want to be, and try to follow that. Try to get somebody that can.
Well, that was going to be my question to you. Was that how, you know, from your viewpoint, how would they get that? How would they find out who they are, or what would assist them with that?
Well, you'll always get hints. You know, you know yourself. If it's one thing, you know yourself, and you know what would be wrong and what would be right, because your conscience will always tell you certain things, and you know what you should and shouldn't do, and it will always be with you. It's just like with me. I know I was coaching, but it wasn't enough just coaching. So it would be on me, and it's riding you to you have to do that, you have to get to that. So they will find out, they will know within themselves, and then it will lead them, if they really want to pursue it, it will lead them to somebody that can help them, I guess, get organized. It will bring you to people that in that field. You may think sometimes it's you alone that in that type of field, or want to do that, or want to be like this, but no, there are others. It's just that you're not in the path. So once you go on the path, you will find the direction of where you want to go, and people that in that same line that can help you to develop those characters and skills and mentality to get where you want to go. So, you know, it's not really difficult. It's just that you have to listen. You have to be humble. You have to listen. As a coach, a player that like to win and so on, sometimes, you know, other people giving you advice, and you tend to and you brush over it, and because you think you know, but you don't really know. I mean, you know, as a coach, you have to have that self-confidence as well, that what you believe or what you want to do is right. But you know, you always have people on the outside looking in. 2020 hindsight. So you always get that kind of advice. You need to be able to take it and put it in your own way to see if you can make it work for you and your club. You need to be able to listen to the hierarchy, the hierarchy, however you want to put it. You need to be able to have an open mind about those things when you're dealing with people and youth and so on. Everybody different.
Yes, very different.
We have a whole variety of players coming to our training ground every day. I cannot approach each one of them the same way. But sometimes when you get that, and you keep talking and nobody not listen, you get to the anger stage, and then you might lose it. It's all these things now. I have to learn to control. That I need to separate the emotion from what is actually right to do.
Sure.
So when I master that, well, I don't know if I'll master it. I don't know if any coach has mastered it, but when you can control it as much as possible, you can see the full development of yourself and your players.
So let me ask you, what happens when, because I'm going to backtrack a little bit, when you were speaking about winning and identifying with, winning and so forth, even you in your younger days and then translating it to the team now. What happens when you don't win?
That's the thing. When you don't win, you tend to have that depression, that depressed feeling. You tend to go down in your shell. You tend to think like you can be a loser, or if you didn't do enough, and you can doubt. You can have a lot of self-doubt, team doubt. So you cannot base your, even though the sport and the football is about winning, to win the championship, you want to win the championship, but it cannot be the sole reason, because as soon as when you losing, the doubt will always start creeping in. If you get what I'm saying, the players now will start to doubt themselves, and they will doubt you, because what you are telling them not working at the point in time. Mm-hmm. So you have lack of belief. It may be in the system, in the coach, in the players, whatever, vice versa, however it may be. So if it's just about winning, that's what can happen. It can make you be somebody that is kind of always negative because you're angry. Those kind of emotions will start to come out. But if you wrap up your whole philosophy and think about the holistic of the player, the holistic of everything, that you can know, well, you don't win today, but we achieved that.
Right.
We are together as a team. We bonded well. Okay, we had the game plan going on for about like 30 minutes. Now we need to improve for the next 70 minutes.
Right.
And you break it down and so on. But if you just think of winning, when I came in to the coaching, it's winning. You are the best. You win. You're number one. You are the best.
You want to.
But you're winning and you're losing players.
Mm-hmm.
So that cannot be right. You cannot be winning and losing players. You're winning and losing players. Something is wrong. So that means either your personality or something wrong, where they don't like you, because it takes a lot of sacrifice to win as well. And some people might get sacrificed along the way, but you don't want that to be at a negative end, because you cannot be winning and losing players. So just to get to the championship, you shut down a player, you bring down a player, all those kind of things to win, and you're losing. At the end of it, you're losing somebody. You're losing a young man, and just to win. So I'd rather now, yes, win, but I want to win with the whole holistic vibes of the thing, where you have the players being successful outside of football.
Right.
Having a job, having an education, having everything working right with them. Their self-confidence, they walk on the road feeling good. Because all that will translate on the football field.
Yeah.
Because they will have less to worry about, and they will just come and just play, and they will understand you, and they will do what you say, they will fight for you. So once we can get that right, I wouldn't worry about the winning will come.
Well, okay, so if they identify with winning solely, then obviously that's going to be an issue, right? Because winning should not be the sole basis for anyone's identity, because we don't win all the time.
Yes.
Certainly not. I mean, I wish we did, but we don't. Right? So, are there any other things that you feel relative to identity that, with your experience with the young people on the field, with the young men in particular, because, I'm going to address the ladies in a second. Is there any particular areas that you feel that you're seeing now that our young men tend to identify with? Like, I don't know, popular culture?
Well, yeah, whatever. The culture thing, the music, some of the gangs, all those things play a big part on the young men's life. When you're growing up back in the day, you had your boys, and then you had your gang, you were fighting and doing all those things, but so sometimes when I see those same things happening, I don't really come at them in no kind of negative way, because been there, done that, been part of it. It's just now trying to understand them and guide them and tell them like, yo, you know, you have better than that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to follow. You don't have to be a follower. You can be a leader. You don't have to, you know. So you always try to just talk to them, always be there, but dictating what they do will be wrong. Even on the football field, some of my players say, "Coach, you telling us to pass the ball there," and those kind of things, and you know, because you're so afraid of losing control. Especially for me, when I coaching, I'm afraid of losing control. But losing control comes with trust. I have to trust them to be able to let them do and express themselves.
You do, yes.
And to be able to do that, they have to train and they have to practice. It takes repetition and being consistent. So there is something where I could say, you know, bad language, how we speak. You made a bad pass. He actually passed it to the teammate, yes, but it wasn't a bad pass. It was a wrong decision or a poor decision because there was somebody in a better position he could have passed the ball to. So is what the young men are going through now with their girlfriends, the young, you know, everybody, you're a young man, you have 1, 2, 3,
1, 2,
4 ladies.
4?
Yeah. So
wow.
Even that, you know, as a coach, I have to try to talk to them about, you know, and that is where you have to kind of control yourself as you're a coach, because you were younger and you did
have 1, 2, 3, 4.
You know, some of the same things that you're telling them to
pull out on,
and then so you have to be very careful how you speak to them in that sense, because you have to really understand, you know, the world is a cycle, as they say. Because I'm very surprised in myself, seeing myself speaking here, talking about those kind of things, you know. So even with their girlfriend, you know, it's just, you love your girl, treat her right and so on. I mean, I maybe know I have some people here looking at me saying, you see me talking about girlfriend and treat her right and all kind of thing. But, you know, it's life. You mature, you grow, you learn, and you try to improve and get better. So I will advise them on that for certain things on, you know, you have to buck up. Not telling them exactly what to do or how to do it, but just to understand them, because you cannot just chastise. You know, you have generations back in the day just chastise, like, yo, them fellas doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. And if you just rewind some years back, them same people were doing
exactly
same things, you know. So it doesn't mean you have to do it because I did it, but you have to understand, like, it's a cycle, and you have to just try to guide them out of it. If it's negative, and if it's positive, push them towards it.
Right. As we said from the beginning, we're being completely transparent. So this is candid conversations. I say that when you said you're sure that there are going to be some people watching this saying whatever. So that's okay, right? That's an interesting perspective in terms of the identity, and thanks for sharing that with your players and the young men. And I know it's going to be different with young men and young women, right? Hence why there's the both of us, and so there's balance, the yin and the yang. When I think of identity, I look at it as if everything was stripped away from me, right? Like everything physical, everything tangible, then what remains? What's left? If I have absolutely everything taken away from me, what is left?
Why you?
Who am I, right? So that is the question, who am I? And to be honest, like, this is something that I struggled with as a young woman. I struggled with that throughout my teenage years into adulthood. And so I'm going to share from my experience in terms of it, and, you know, certain things that I feel should be looked out for, right? Because we're saying go back to your young people and speak about this. So for me, there were kind of like two main things that I identified with as a young woman. And I'm speaking like from about when I was 14 years old. So I'm going to sort of cover two periods. From about when I was 14 to 18, right? Okay, so we're speaking about high school, early college years. I identified with relationships, so whatever relationship it was that I was in at that point in time, that was a heavy one. And I identified with academic success. Okay, so in terms of the relationships, I mean, I was like in one main relationship throughout high school. But my identity was really tied into that, or should I say like the basis of my identity, because identity, you know, spans a lot of different things, right? But the basis of my identity was really sort of like rooted in this relationship as a young woman. Why I don't know, perhaps it had to do with how I grew up, I'm not sure, right? But that's just how it was. And I think that's how it is, quite frankly, for quite a lot of young ladies, at least. I don't know about the young men, but the young ladies. To the point where when that relationship ended, like my entire world fell apart. It sounds like I can laugh now because I'm way on the other side of that, and you know, so I can laugh now because I know what life is like after that period. But being in that time, being a teenager, 14, 15, 16, where you really like starting to like boys, go out with boys or whatever, on whatever level, it was a really serious thing. So for me, when it ended, I literally, like, I did not know what existed past that. Yeah. Like, my whole world fell apart. I really remember thinking this. And that Lauryn Hill album was like banging at that time, by the way, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Okay, so that was one. And then the other piece for me, as I said, was the academic success. So I did really well in school. And anybody who knows me on here can attest to that. I did really well. Primary school, all the way up through high school, was always like top of my class. Number one and number two, mostly number one, I believe. Right? So I did strict sciences when I was in high school. And in Dominica, you know, I don't know anywhere else, you know, I mean, I didn't grow up anywhere else, but specifically when I grew up in Dominica, if you did really well in school and you were doing, you know, sciences and so forth, then you were going to become a doctor. Like, that was just what it was, okay? You know, forget about purpose, what you're called to do. You really didn't hear about any of that. It was doctor, doctor, doctor. So I had really become attached to this notion that I was going to become a doctor, a pediatrician specifically. Clearly, I am not a pediatrician at this moment where I'm speaking to you, right? But that's what I identified with. And as I said, relationships as well. So that would change, obviously, because then if you switched into another relationship, then your identity now sort of becomes attached to that other relationship, right? And so what happened now was that I left Dominica. So that relationship ended. I left Dominica and I moved to Toronto, where I went to university. And in about my second year of university, so I enrolled in pre-med, okay? So I was like a biochem major. And I did love sciences. But after some time of going to classes, sitting down in these lectures, I really began to question like a lot of things. All the things they were saying to me, like I was not enjoying it at all. Like I was not enjoying my classes at all, whatsoever. I was like in a lecture hall with like about 500 students, and it was a very difficult time for me. And then it was the first time I started taking other courses. You know, when I say other courses, I mean I became exposed to other subjects outside of science. Because, you know, when you go to university, you have to choose electives and stuff. So I did like some political science, sociology, different types of courses that I had not taken before. And it really started to like open up my perspective and my worldview. And I was really enjoying these courses because there could be dialogue, like we could speak back and forth. I could actually have an opinion on something. As opposed to sciences, I mean, again, I love sciences, but science, you can't really have an opinion about science. Science is science, right? So I fell into a really bad depression my second year of university because of two things. One, I had entered into another relationship. So this was like my first serious adult relationship, because now I was really, you know, an adult, and it was a long distance relationship, mind you. Okay, we are still superb friends up to this day, but it didn't work out. The long distance didn't work out, and then at the same time I was realizing, like, oh my gosh, I don't think I want to be a doctor. Like, what I'm studying, like, I don't want to do it. Like, this is not, I struggled with that so bad. It was a real honest struggle, right? Because I'm saying, like, I don't want to be this thing that I had propped myself up to be for, like, all these years. And not only that, but, like, the expectation of that, you know, or your daughter or your niece, you know, is studying medicine, is going to become this doctor, and so on. And of course, I had already spent money, gone through my full first year of university into my second year at the time. So I didn't know what to do because I was seriously depressed, to the point where literally, like, I would wake up in the morning, not go to class. So I completely stopped going to class, right? I had this lovely friend of mine, Davis, shout out to you, from St. Lucia, who used to come and bring me food. Like, that's the only way that I ate. And at this point in time, I was probably only eating, like, struggling to eat maybe like one meal a day. I was really depressed. And I would bathe like maybe like once because I was depressed. These are seriously signs of someone who's in severe depression, right? So it came to the point where, as I said, I stopped going to class and I could not get out of bed. So my aunt had to come get me, and they had to bring me to a doctor, and I was diagnosed as being clinically depressed, by the way. So this is real talk. And I was advised to take some time off of school. So I literally had to leave Toronto. At this time, I remember my niece was born. She turned 17 this year, and I shared this with her for the first time. Obviously, because now she's at the age where I could have that conversation with her. My sister-in-law was still pregnant with her at the time, but I remember that being like the little joy, the little thing that I was like holding on to, because as I said, I felt like I had nothing left. So I lost the relationship, so there goes that. Then I'm completely losing the idea of me being a doctor. Forget the academic success, you know, me being known for being brilliant, being really smart and all that, because now obviously I'm not going to class, I'm depressed, like my grades are plummeting, right? And I now have to leave school and come back to Dominica. And so that was a really difficult time. I mean, thank God, like, I made it through that, right? And I'm here today, but that's what happened, you know, with me. So I say all of that to say that when your identity, like, for me, this is why it's so important, and I asked you about the winning piece. Because when your identity is rooted in something that is temporal,
when it's gone, problem.
when it's gone, then who are you? Like, you have an issue at that point, right? So I always tell young people or anybody that I speak to about this, as I'm sharing with you now, and hoping that, you know, you will invite your young people to watch this with you and or speak to them about it, is to never have your identity, the basis for your identity should never be something that can be shifted or moved. It should always be something that is rooted. It took me a very long time to learn that, and finally, you know, I did, and through my spiritual journey, that's how I got to the place that I am now. Because for me, I identify now, first and foremost, my identity is rooted in God as a child of God. So it does not matter, it no longer matters what happens. So it doesn't matter if a career comes, if a career goes. It doesn't matter if a relationship comes, if a relationship goes. At the end of the day, I am God's child, and I know what God has said about me, so that is what I identify. And for me, that does not shift, that never changes, that remains firm, that remains the same. So it's the most wonderful thing for me being on the other side of that, because I know what it was like before that. So, you know, that's just my encouragement, right, to you guys and to the young people. When I think about identity, that's what I think about, and that is my advice based on what it is that I have been through myself. So thank you for viewing the first episode. If you want to find out more about the work that we do, so the Be More Empowerment Foundation organized me and the Learning Lab. We'll put the links below, so in the description, so you can follow us on social media. Coach, you want to speak a little bit about, well, he has a clothing line.
We have a clothing line on coachkplus.com, where you can find your merch. We have
we're wearing it. Hashtag Be More.
Shirts. We have the hashtag Be More shirts. We have sweaters. We have tanks. We have hoodies, especially those overseas. The winter is coming. Mom, we'll check out the hoodie for you. So you can always check that out to support us, and always check the foundation to see, how we can work together, or we can help, encourage the kids and them to be more in whatever they want to do, whatever field they would like to be a part of, Also for my son to be more. I'm a coach, I'm a footballer, past footballer, would have loved for him to be that, but as well, he has it in him, but he loves music and he loves those things, and he's very, very, very good at it. Brilliant young man, and I'm always trying to encourage him to be more, and happy that he's taking the next path than I did, to have any pressure on him, because I would love to sit down one day and hear him playing his music, his keyboards and so on, and encouraging him. So for everybody out there, for the youth out there, hashtag Be More. For those that gone past and who are, whatever field they are, you can be more than a teacher, more than a policeman, more than a fireman, more than whatever you choose to be, or whatever you are doing, you can be more. So these are my words to you of encouragement. Just hashtag Be More.
All right, and with that, thank you, and see you for the next episode.